Starliner Houston on 1 for comm check.
CDR loud and clear.
Starliner Houston, we have you loud and clear on 1 as well. We'll call that our L-35 comm checks. Moving on, for your awareness, boot team has departed the pad. As a reminder, the environmental seal is up, so you'll have to deal with that if you get out from this point on. And I have your AEL checklist updates, but I'll just summarize them. There's no change from our last. Let me know if you need anything, but no change to the numbers.
Okay, copy. No, we need none of them, no change. And we'll go triage side 12, which is a right turn to the south.
Right turn is correct. And that completes our L-35 updates. Thanks.
Thank you.
Stand by for LC.
LC Flight Channel 1.
Flight this ALC, stand by 1.
Stand by.
Go ahead, flight. This is LC on 1.
Yeah, ready for comm check on CSD Underground 2?
Roger.
Here we go.
Blue team has cleared the pad.
Roger.
LC OSM.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Op 60, step 10, step 20. Blast danger area is clear.
Roger.
LCOSM.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I can also give you step 60. Flight hazard area has been cleared of all personnel accounted for.
Roger.
L minus 30 minutes.
RC, conduct weather briefing on Channel 8 Weather Conference Net.
Roger.
Arm controls, start arm hydraulic final preps.
Roger.
LOX 1, perform pogo suppressor charge.
Roger.
Prop 1, perform RD180 transducer converter calibration.
Roger.
P&E 2, perform Centaur LH2 SVV cycle test.
Roger. L minus 29 minutes.
Prop 1, LC.
Prop 1, go.
Are we complete?
Yes, RD-180 transducer converter calibration is complete, and the engine FIV is open.
Roger. Flight control. Start flight control. Final prep.
Roger. LC, Peony 2.
Go ahead.
Centaur LH2 SVV cycle tests are complete.
Roger.
RP1 temperature update complete.
Roger.
LC arm control.
Go ahead.
Arm hydraulic final preps are complete.
Roger.
L minus 27 minutes. L minus 25 minutes.
LC, this is flight control.
Go ahead.
Step 90, flight control final preps complete, and Atlas hydraulics at standby pressure.
Roger.
L minus 23 minutes.
SYS, switch all secondary decoms to RF link and verify lock.
Roger.
Initiate orbital parameter calculations on primary CCLS.
Roger.
L minus 22 minutes.
LC, Lexlin.
Go ahead.
Pogo suppressor charge is complete.
Roger.
LCSYS.
Go ahead.
All secondary. Secondary.
Yeah, you're breaking up, SYS.
All secondary decoms verified on RF link.
I did copy that. Please check your headset.
L minus 21 minutes. L minus 20 minutes.
PNE1, reinitiate AHB charging.
Roger.
RLM, verify redline monitor and event table or in
Starliner,
the
you can
correct
configure suit
configuration
flow,
for terminal
deflate
count.
the lumbar support, configure your restraints.
RC,
For the
verify
pre-brief,
solar
keep your visors
radiation,
up, please.
acceptable for
Ground
launch.
here will be commanding
Verify.
off. Suit fan Bravo momentarily.
Starliner copies.
All communications switch to channel 1. All personnel and visitors remain in present position until launch. Maintain operational silence in the LCC.
This is the LC with a terminal count briefing. If a condition exceeds a launch constraint anytime after the terminal count status check, The observer shall announce hold, hold, hold on channel 1, identify their station, and briefly state the reason for the hold.
L minus 18 minutes.
Flight control, perform launch on time verification.
Roger. Launch on time verified.
Roger.
LC Peony 1.
Go ahead.
AHB charging reestablished and at flight mass.
Roger.
L minus 17 minutes.
OSM, place SRB ignition SNA switch in the enable position.
SRB ignition enabled.
Verify FCO, RCO, and OSM hold fire switches are in the proceed position.
Ready to proceed.
L minus 16 minutes. L minus 15 minutes.
LC flight, channel 1 and air ground 1 are now merged going to air ground 1.
Roger. Roger.
LC flight, air ground 1, ready for contact with Starliner on channel 1.
Roger. Roger. Starliner LC, com check on channel 1.
LC, Starliner, loud and clear.
I have you loud and clear also.
Starliner, Houston, ComTech, Air Ground 1.
Houston, Starliner, loud and clear.
Houston has you loud and clear on Air Ground 1. Starliner Houston, your suit fan Bravo is repowered. It looks good. Please close your visors. Column closed.
Houston, Starliner, visors closed.
Houston copies, visors closed.
L minus 12 minutes. L minus 11 minutes.
Arm controls, though the crew access arm for launch.
Roger.
L minus 10 minutes.
Flight, verify CST 100 on internal power.
Verified.
Starliner, configure ordnance for launch.
Touch and work. Ordnance configured.
Roger.
L minus 8 minutes.
LC arm control.
Go ahead.
Drew axis arms stowed for launch.
Roger. LC switch to ready position. All steps are complete prior to status check.
L minus 7 minutes.
Status check to proceed with terminal count. Atlas systems, propulsion,
Go.
hydraulics,
Go.
pneumatics,
Go.
LO2,
Go.
water,
Go.
Centaur systems, propulsion,
Go.
pneumatics,
Go.
LO2,
Go.
LH2,
Go.
has gas,
Go.
electrical systems, airborne,
Go.
ground,
Go.
facility,
Go.
RFFTS,
Go.
flight control,
Go.
GCQ,
Go.
op support,
Go.
comm,
Go.
umbilicals,
Go.
arm control,
Go.
ECS,
Go.
redline monitor,
Go.
quality,
Go.
op safety manager,
Go.
ULA safety officer,
Go.
vehicle system engineer,
Go.
anomaly chief,
Go.
range coordinator,
Clear to proceed.
flight director,
Houston flight is go.
Starliner,
Starliner, go.
launch director,
You have permission to launch.
proceeding with the count. ALC, verify T0 is set for 14:52:15 Zulu.
Verified.
Starliner, net is clear.
Thank you, LC. For everybody listening, just a thought. Sonny and I, as we were traveling to the pad, we saw many American flags, and many of you were waving flags at us. And then as we reached the pad, we look up, and of course there's that American flag on the side of the white room, also one on the side of the rocket itself. And we know that that represents unity and resilience and unified efforts for the common good. And that's what Sonny and I have witnessed this last month. Each of you displaying what this nation's forefathers envisioned, a people committed to God, family, and country, a people who use their gifts and talents for the common good, and are passionate and tough. And we all know that when the going gets tough, and it often does, the tough get going. And you have. And Sonny and I are honored to share this dream of spaceflight with each and every one of you. So with that, LC, let's get going. Now let's put some fire in this rocket, and let's push it to the heavens where all these tough Americans have prepared it to be.
Let's go, Calypso. Take us to space and back.
LC flight, Starliner configured for terminal count.
On my mark,
Roger.
the time will be T-minus 4 minutes and counting. 3, 2, 1, mark. 3:55.
Ground pyros enabled.
.330.
Atlas hydraulics at flight crash.
Three minutes.
Pressurizing Atlas tanks.
Securing LO2 topping.
250.
FTS internal. 159. Vehicle internal. 155.
Launch sequencer start.
150.
Securing Centaur LH2.
Securing Centaur LO2.
Vehicle is now transferred to its onboard batteries, and topping is
140.
completed.
Launch enabled.
137.
FTS armed. OCU's armed. FCS count started. EDS ascent.
Starliner, last arm to auto.
Last arm auto.
Roger.
That call meaning if the emergency detection system on Atlas detects something.
Rock report range status. Range green. 54.
POP started.
It will trigger the launch abort system on Starliner and fire automatically. If that happened, the spacecraft would push itself away from the rocket a mile up and a mile out.
Atlas at flight press.
30.
Centaur at flight press.
25. Status check. Go Atlas. Go Centaur. Go Starliner. Godspeed, Butch and Suni.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff of Starliner and Atlas V, carrying 2 American heroes, drawing a line to the stars for all of us.
Commander Butch Wilmore there, calling down to Mission Control here in Houston that the spacecraft has begun rolling into the right attitude for its ascent. The Guidance, Navigation, and Control Officer here in the room seeing good data on that.
Starliner passing through max Q, or the point of maximum dynamic pressure where the forces of air friction are highest, which in Suni will shortly be passing through Mach 1, where the speed of sound.
Got a good throttle up.
Starliner and Atlas looking good with speeds and attitude increasing as expected. Coming up in less than 20 seconds, the solid rocket boosters will run out of fuel and burn out.
Good SRB burnout.
Good SRB.
Now that the fuel in the solid rocket boosters has been depleted, the Atlas main booster stage will be continuing its burn for about the next 3 minutes.
Good handle.
Good handle.
That call, good handle, from Capcom Joshua Kutrick, indicating that the crew now has the ability to initiate an abort manually if needed. All looking good so far. Now 2 minutes into Starliner's flight and coming up on the solid rocket booster jettison at the 2 minute and 40-second mark.
CLG and net, good trajectory.
CLG.
The solid rocket boosters have now been jettisoned after seeing Starliner through its first 90 seconds of flight. Team on the ground here confirming that it was a good jettison and that the vehicle's trajectory continues to look good. Now 3 minutes into today's flight.
Atlas booster now throttling back to limit the G-forces on Butch and Suni, trying to limit that to around 3.5 times the force of gravity you would feel while on the ground.
Staging.
Here in the ground.
Decals open. You have sublimator act.
Decal sub act. Decal. Great act.
Team on the ground reporting that they saw the ascent cover on top of Starliner that's been protecting the spacecraft's docking system through its climb into orbit. They saw that jettison as planned.
Staging was good. You have good control.
And now the second stage's 2 Centaur engines have ignited to continue pushing Starliner into space, fueled by liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. The next milestone that we'll be watching for is the aeroskirt jettison.
Starliner, you had good booster performance. You're up to plus 31.
Plus 31.
Atlas Control reporting booster performance offset of 31 seconds of ISP, or specific impulse, relative to its design baseline of around 450.
All continuing to perform well, almost 7 minutes into today's flight.
Good Centaur.
Good Centaur.
Capcom Joshua Kutrick continuing to pass good news up to Starliner's crew. That last one reporting that the Centaur upper stage remains in good condition and is performing well, pushing them into orbit.
St. John's open.
St. John's.
Starliner is now entering its first guided abort range, where Starliner would direct itself towards a specific location in the event of abort. In this case, just off the coast of St. John's, the capital of the Canadian province of Newfoundland Labrador.
Starliner MECO converged 11:52, 11:52. Good perf, you're at 34 to 36 seconds.
11:52, 34 seconds.
That call letting the crew know that the main engine cutoff, MECO, should happen just about on time, about 12 minutes into today's flight. Another good indication that Starliner's ascent is taking along exactly as expected. Main engine cutoff is a major milestone marking Starliner's arrival on orbit. Still got about 2.5 minutes until we get to that, with the spacecraft continuing to perform well, make its way towards orbit.
No action, Starliner, on the LCL. That's just the system coming up into controlling mode.
Outstanding. No action.
Once the main engine is cut off, the next step will be the launch vehicle separation. That's set to occur just short of 15 minutes after launch, when Starliner will separate from the rocket and fly free in space for the first time. Flight Dynamics officer reporting that at this point, Starliner could potentially make an abort landing off the coast of Ireland.
Good cooling.
And they're, again, all continuing well, so we're not expecting to need that abort.
As Starliner is rapidly approaching orbital velocity, the abort region is only available for just over 1 minute, where Starliner would just continue up to orbit after that.
.30 seconds to MECO.
Just 30 seconds to go. Now until main engine cutoff, marking Starliner's arrival on orbit.
Nominal MECO, Starliner.
Nominal MECO.
And with that nominal MECO call, that's main engine cutoff. We've got good energy, meaning a good velocity for continuing to orbit, and a good plane, meaning Starliner's trajectory is aligned with the International Space Station for rendezvous tomorrow.
And with that, Butch, Wilmore, and Suni Williams return to orbit. Individually, they are both extremely experienced astronauts.
14:52, 14:52.
14:52.
They're both very experienced astronauts with a combined total of 489 days in space between them. Starliner is also the third spacecraft that they've launched in. Both have traveled to the International Space Station via space shuttles and Soyuz and are now well on their way to repeating the journey via Starliner. It's also worth noting that Williams' role as pilot marks the first time that a woman has crewed a flight test of an orbital spacecraft.
Just a few seconds ago, you heard Capcom Joshua Kutrick calling up to Butch and Suni. With the expected time, Starliner will separate from Centaur at about 14 minutes, 52 seconds into flight. Just under 2 minutes from now, or 1 minute from now.
That is actually the last major milestone for Starliner's ascent. All the hard work is done, but we need for Starliner to be flying on its own before it can begin heading towards the International Space Station. There's a slight pause in the action here while Centaur repressurizes and does some attitude control. We'll get into the right orientation to send Centaur on its way and then jettison it and move into the right orientation for the orbital insertion burn, which will come about 31 minutes into flight.
No action on the cabin temp Starliner.
No action.
And about 10 seconds until an expected launch vehicle separation.
LV-SEP confirmed.
Good LV-SEP.
And now that Starliner has separated from this Centaur upper stage, we have a big thank you to our partners at ULA, providing Butch and Suni a smooth ride to space.
That is not the end of today's orbit activity, though. The team will now be getting ready for the orbital insertion burn, which comes 31 minutes after flight. So that's still about 15 minutes away now. Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore will be getting their tablets out and doing a few other activities to get Starliner ready for that. And that will be one of the that will be the first in a series of burns that will set Starliner on its way to the International Space Station. Once again, Starliner with astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams on board launched from Florida, the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, Launch Pad 41 at 9:52 a.m. Central, 10:52 a.m. Eastern today, and they have now
Starliner,
made it into
your
orbit.
nominal TDRS show MDL is active. You have good targeting for OI.
Good targeting.
With the call for good targeting and information about Starliner's TDRS schedule being good, means that we've got good communication with the ground. TDRS is the tracking relay data satellites that Starliner uses to talk to the ground, and the flight controllers on the ground are seeing the
Starliner.
dynamic.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if you could relay a message to our brethren at ULA.
We're all listening. Go ahead.
Yeah, they've been a member of the family for a long time, but now it's official, and we want to welcome them to human spaceflight.
We all copy all and really appreciate the words.
And Houston Starliner, we are on the tablets and in insertion monitor.
Copy tablets, we're with you, insertion monitor.
So the crew have their tablets out, so no longer using the paper procedures now that the vehicle has stopped moving so quickly. So there's a handful of things that the crew's going to do now, mostly just prepare the inside of the cockpit so they are looking at the right data to prepare for the upcoming orbital insertion burn. The vehicle itself has done a few things recently. Started to power on the solar arrays on the back of Starliner and turning off several of the thrusters that are no longer needed at this phase of flight. Upcoming in about 4 minutes, Starliner is going to start to orient itself in the direction it needs to do the orbital insertion burn. And the crew inside the vehicle will be turning the wireless access point on and allow them to stream some of the data from the spacecraft onto their procedure tablets.
And Houston Starliner, last arm is off. Backup control switches, enable 1 on, enable 2 off. SMRCS is the mode.
We copy off. Enable 1 is on, enable 2 is off. SMRCS, you're in a good config.
Good config.
Your EXDV targets are on board and good.
Good EXDV.
Things will be pretty quiet as Starliner gets into position for the orbital insertion burn. That's still about 10 minutes away. Starliner is actually designed to be pretty autonomous and, in fact, docked with the space station on its last trip around without the help of any crew on board. But we do still want to know that if needed, Butch, Wilmore, and Suni Williams could take control and manually abort the spacecraft's approach to the station if they needed to. So to prove that, one of the few things on their agenda after they reach orbit will be to perform a test of the manual piloting mode.
This test will involve first pointing Starliner's nose towards the Earth so that its communication antenna on the back of the service module is pointed at the satellites, the teeter satellites that allow it to communicate with the team on the ground. They'll then move Starliner so that its solar arrays are pointed at the sun, showing they could charge Starliner's internal batteries as needed. And they'll follow that up with a demonstration of the star trackers, one of the ways that Starliner determines where it is in space, pointing Starliner away from Earth so that the system, the Vesta system, can get a good look at the stars.
The next step will be for the crew to manually speed Starliner up and then slow back down, which will slightly raise and then lower their orbit and prove that they can manually break away from the orbit that the space station is in if they needed to. At that point, they can move on to the last
Starliner,
items of the
still no
test.
action on your cabin temp. You're in a good config. It's 74 degrees in there. Yeah, and that's just due to that T2 sensor sitting beside the light. So we're actually going to inhibit that particular sensor. We'll let you know when we bring it back online.
Okay, great. Looks like we're on our way to thrust align.
Concur.
Josh Kutrick calling up that the crew can ignore some alarms they're seeing on the temperatures inside Starliner. That's just a result of one of the sensors being next to a light that's causing it to show higher than it actually is, but it sounds like the crew are pretty comfortable and are getting into place for that orbital insertion. As I was saying, after they have manually broken away from the orbit of, proven that they can manually break away from the orbit of the space station, they are going to move on to the last items of their test for tonight. That's manually moving Starliner into the right orientation for re-entering the atmosphere, and then moving back into the attitude that will let them soak up some sun with the solar arrays and try a different method of manually charging the spacecraft's batteries. But again, once that all has to wait until after the orbital insertion burn. This is, again, the first of several burns that will put Starliner on its way to the International Space Station. We've still got about 6.5 minutes until we fire up the engines for that burn.
Starliner, we did not see the hand controller deflection. Just wanted to know if you did that yet.
No, we'll get it now.
All good.
USO, establish barricades around MLP and an area beneath the MLP, and perform O2 LEL checks for Compass 41 areas. Roger. ECS LC.
Team here on the ground seeing that everything is looking like it's in the right configuration for the orbital insertion burn. Now less than 5 minutes away. Starliner is currently about 102 miles above the Mediterranean Sea, heading southeast over India in the next few minutes.
Starliner, good config for the OI burn.
Good config for OI.
And good config from the OI burn. Crew and ground controllers noting that Starliner is pointed in the direction it needs to for the OI burn. It should also be about the time that the crew are using their tablets for their procedures, also charging them, keeping them topped up for the rest of the rendezvous.
We unfortunately won't have a view of Williams and Wilmore as they work through this procedure. Although we had a view of them from inside the cabin on the ground, Starliner isn't able to send that view to us again until it gets to the International Space Station. So you'll be seeing this screen quite a bit as Starliner was getting into the right position for the burn. And actually just now you can see some of the engines firing that help it steer and move around in space. And you can also see what attitude it's in at any given time. Lots of good information on this screen.
It is. A lot of this information actually directly mimics the views that the crew is seeing, especially the one in the upper left-hand panel, that is an exact copy of the display the crew is using for their attitude directional indicator. It also covers what mode their translational hand controller and the translational pointing is in. On the left side, on the right side, the pointing guidance, which tells the Starliner in automated mode which direction to point, or when in manual mode, which direction the crew needs to move the vehicle, like we're going to do in some of the manual piloting maneuvers. And following back up a little bit on the camera conversation, there is a planned upgrade of the Mustang system that we should see on our PCM-1 mission that will include live feeds from inside the cockpit.
And the Mustang system is the cameras that we were seeing views from earlier.
That's correct. There's a handful of cameras around the inside of Starliner. We often see the one from kind of beneath Butch and Suni. That's given one of the better views without being directly right in their face while they're inside the cockpit during pre-launch. But once they're in orbit, they've gotten out of their seats a little bit, and we should be able to see a little bit more around the cabin.
We will, though, as you've already heard, continue to hear regular audio updates from the crew. Everything going well now that Starliner is just under 30 minutes into today's flight. We've got about a minute and a half left to go into that orbital insertion burn that will be kind of the final end cap, really, to today's ascent, which, again, took place at 10:52 a.m. Eastern when Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams launched inside the first Starliner to carry crew members on board from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, Launch Pad 41. They made it to orbit about 14 minutes later, and now we are just, again, waiting for this first of a series of burns that will set Starliner on its way to a rendezvous with the International Space Station that is scheduled to take place at 12:15 p.m. Eastern, 11:15 a.m. Central tomorrow.
And we're coming up at about 40 seconds till the orbital insertion burn. This burn is going to take Starliner out of its slightly suborbital trajectory and push it up to an altitude that will allow us to catch up with ISS for a rendezvous later tomorrow.
"15 seconds left to go, and once again, you'll be able to see those engines firing on this digital screen here that show when the burn has started.
2 seconds. And flight controllers here in Houston, seeing 4 good OMACs, good burn.
We take a look. That was a good OI burn. You're maneuvering to NavCal 1.
Good OI burn, going to NavCal 1.
And with that call up, both crew and flight controllers agreeing that that was a good OI burn. I'm looking at the trajectory plot here in Mission Control. I see our trajectory pointing us directly up to the altitude we need to go to for the next burn. Right now, Starliner is moving into NavCal mode, or NavCal attitude. That's going to be the first of several positions that Starliner, directions that Starliner points itself to track some of the stars from the Starliner and update the position orientation of Starliner inside of its guidance, navigation, and control algorithms.
And of course, you're seeing lots of happy faces and cheers here in Florida. Everybody glad to see Starliner safely in orbit with Butch, Wilmore, and Suni Williams in tow, sending it on its way to the International Space Station for docking tomorrow at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Once again, Starliner safely on orbit, has conducted a good orbital insertion burn, and is on its way.
Starliner Houston.
Go ahead, Starliner, Houston.
Yeah, you do have good cooling. The sublimator is working. We are watching it, though, because the water usage is just a little more than we thought we were going to see. You probably noticed that. It's a reason for the advisory there. From the ground, we'd like to swap you over to the other leg. So we're going to close sublimator leg 1, wait for about 60 seconds, and then open up leg 2. You'll see us do that. No impact or action.
Okay, we copy. We'll be watching. Thank you.
Joshua Kutrick there again, giving the crew some words about information they're seeing on orbit. This one related to sublimators, which are used to cool the spacecraft down. But just letting them know that there's nothing that they need to be concerned about. The team will keep watching that. In the meantime, as Starliner begins making its way to the International Space Station, we're going to check in with Rob Navius in the International Space Station Flight Control Room. Rob?
Yeah, thanks very much, Brandy. With Starliner en route to the station, the work now just beginning for Wilmore and Williams. First up, an important rendezvous burn called the NC burn, which will adjust Starliner's altitude relative to the station and begin to refine its path to the orbital laboratory. Flight Dynamics will be assessing the accuracy of Starliner's initial trajectory and will update any adjustments to that trajectory for subsequent maneuvers to be conducted over the next 24 hours. Now, we're expecting to hear the first of 3 audio reports from the crew during their free flight on how the ride uphill to orbit was before they move into what are called far-field demonstrations of the vehicle. That will include manual piloting tasks and a manual translation control test. That will prove Starliner's ability to execute a manual docking if required, as well as an abort capability prior to docking. Keep in mind, we're providing continuous coverage now of Starliner's flight to the International Space Station. On Thursday morning, rendezvous operations will begin in earnest shortly before 10 a.m. Eastern Time, leading to a targeted docking for Starliner to the station at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Time. So please stay with us around the clock as we bring you every minute of Starliner's flight. For now, we're going to sign off from the International Space Station Flight Control Room here in Houston and go back to Megan, Dee, and Mike Fink at the Cape.
Hey, and welcome back to the Space Coast of Florida, where about 36 minutes ago we witnessed the launch of a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket carrying the first 2 astronauts, NASA's Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, inside Boeing's Starliner capsule to the International Space Station. The first time ever, Starliner now in the right orbit to rendezvous with the space station in just over 25 hours. How are you guys feeling? How was it to watch launch? Again, just right over the water behind us here.
I mean, this is extremely exciting, obviously a long time coming and a culmination of so much hard work by so many teams. But of course, we're going to be even happier when we see Starliner dock, and even happier when the hatch opens and we watch Suni and Butch float into the International Space Station.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, well said, Dee. I mean, this is exciting. We've built up to this moment for years and years, and it finally happened. I got to see a Starliner launch with my friends on board. How cool is that? And I could feel like the whole planet was cheering for them.
Yeah, it was really nice to see it happen. There were a lot of emotions here at the host desk among the three of us, as well as the crew that's supporting us here on the host desk. And it's just a history-making launch. Suni, again, the first woman to test an orbital spacecraft. That's amazing. And then again, the last time people flew to space in an Atlas-class rocket, 61 years ago. CFT, this final test to certify Starliner, and then once in orbit, the first time in NASA history that the agency will have 3 different crew spacecraft operating in space simultaneously. So that's the International Space Station, SpaceX's Crew Dragon, and again, once Boeing Starliner spacecraft gets there, Boeing Starliner spacecraft. So really just like a lot to celebrate. It's amazing. You know, Mike, I know you've been part of Starliner's journey from the very beginning, working alongside Butch and Suni and all the teams across Boeing, NASA, ULA. So talk to us. How does it feel to see this rocket from your perspective?
I was so impressed all the way through the launch countdown and all the way through orbital insertion burn. Everything was just like the final simulation exercise they give us back at Johnson Space Center, where they just give us everything nominal. And there we are. Everything was fine. No hiccups, no drama, nothing to worry about. And so I was really happy with Butch and Suni, and for Butch and Suni, and happy with the whole team. As Butch said, thank you to the United Launch Alliance for a great ride up, and welcome them to the club of rocket companies that can send humans into space. Now we just got to get to space station in 24-ish hours.
That want to discuss, let me know if you're there.
And we've been asking for some questions on social media, so we still want to get to those because there have been a lot. So why don't we pull up one question here right now? This one's from Ramon. What is your favorite part of being an astronaut, Mike? Is it days like this?
Definitely days like this, Ramon. Very much glad to be an astronaut on this day. I think Butch and Suni might be a little bit happier than me to be an astronaut today, but this is definitely a great day. And if you're not on the rocket yourself, helping your friends is a really great way to be an astronaut.
And so, Mike, talk to us about, this is, again, a crewed flight test. Certification is what's next for Starliner. So what's the process to get us to your flight next year?
Well, first we have to, Butch and Suni, they've gotten to orbit. That's, kind of step one. Now they got to get to the space station and complete their flight test objectives. Once they land safely in a desert somewhere with the airbags, and we'll analyze. The Boeing team will analyze the flight test data, see if any improvements, any changes, any things that can be improved and made, and then we'll get ready for us at the post certification mission number 1 that we call Starliner 1. I think Dragon had a similar one. They called themselves Crew 1. Well, we're Starliner 1, and we'll be ready to fly when the spacecraft is.
Right. And so obviously there's still a lot on this road for Starliner, but when you do fly next year on Starliner 1, Mike, I know that there's a bunch of people here who are very excited for you, so much so that they created this shirt.
Oh, no.
I love it. Mike Fink Fan Club. That's right. Oh, he's hiding, guys. He's hiding behind his computer right now.
I am deeply humbled. Thank you.
No, yes. It just goes to show that so many people are invested in Boeing and NASA and ULA working together on the Starliner program. So we celebrated together with the crewed flight test today and launch. And again, we still have so much more of the mission to go, and we can't wait for your flight for Starliner 1. Alrighty.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again to everyone who submitted questions throughout the broadcast. You really helped to contribute to the broadcast. And Mike, really great to have you here marking this historic launch with us.
It's great to be on the team, and you guys are both are extreme professionals, as well as our production team and the PAO team that's right up the hill from us. Great job, everyone.
Absolutely, and today's liftoff could not have happened without the many teams across the country supporting this launch, which of course is just the first of many critical milestones for this flight test.
Yeah, that's right, Dee. So our coverage tonight, or today, won't end here. First up, we have a post-launch news conference starting at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time right here on NASA TV, followed by continuous coverage of Butch and Suni's transit to the International Space Station. Starliner is on course to dock with the station in just over 25 hours from now, and then the ISS crew will welcome them on board. Again, we will take all of that live on NASA TV, NASA Plus, and our social media channels.
And their journey will provide the data needed to bring Boeing closer to having the continuous privilege of carrying astronauts to and from the space station.
Hey, and that's the perfect opportunity, right, to pull up this QR code we have ready for you. If you scan it, it'll take you to go.nasa.gov/CFT, where you will find everything you'd want to know about this crew flight test and also NASA's commercial crew program, which is why we're flying today.
Mike, it's been great to have you with us. Your insight today was important and invaluable.
Thank you very much, and the Boeing company should get a big pat on the back today for a job well done so far.
Yes, again, congratulations to all the team. Thank you, Dee. Thank you, Mike. We really appreciate your time here on the official launch broadcast of NASA's Boeing crew flight tests. And that's going to do it for us here on the Space Coast of Florida. For Boeing, ULA, and NASA, thank you so much for watching our official broadcast of this historic crew flight test. We leave you now with a replay of launch. Have a spectacular day. Here are the astronauts, Commander Butch Wilmore and pilot Suni Williams, as you can see, suiting up for their mission into the history books.
This is a tradition. The whole idea here is to lose to the chief.
Out of the suit-up room, Commander Butch Wilmore and pilot Suni Williams walking to an elevator at the end of the hallway. Our CFT crew taking their first steps outside, now en route to launch pad 41.
Crew transport vehicle has entered the pad.
Butch and Suni arriving on level 12.
Last look at planet Earth for a while, saying hi to us. Hi, Suni.
Butch getting in there.
Gotten strapped into their seats here.
Hatch closure complete. Roger.
3, 2, 1, ignition. And liftoff of Starliner Atlas V, carrying 2 American heroes, drawing a line to the stars for all of us.
Commander Butch Wilmore, they're calling down to mission control here in Houston that the spacecraft has begun rolling into the right attitude for its ascent, and the guidance, navigation, and control officer here in the room seeing good data on that.
Houston, Matt 2.
Go ahead, sir.
You're back with Mission Control Houston, coming to you from Johnson Space Center. Team here in Mission Control continuing to watch over the Starliner systems. They have been continuing to watch the sublimator issue that we mentioned just before we went back to Kennedy Space Center, therefore an update. Those sublimators are used to cool the vehicle down before the vehicle uses its radiators for cooling. It is running out of water a little more quickly than it was expected to, but the radiators will be able to take over the cooling of Starliner just in the next few minutes. So we'll keep an eye on that, but it should not be a problem for today's flight. Another update that we got while we were getting those final words from Kennedy Space Center was that the team here on the ground is getting good data from the VESTA system. That is a key system on board Starliner. It stands for Vision-Based Electro-Optical Sensory Tracking Assembly, which is a long name because it's very important.
So that system actually does many things for Starliner. It's a combination star tracker. It's also the cameras that look at station and tell the Starliner flight control system exactly where it is and which direction it is pointed relative to space station. So the spacecraft autopilot itself will use that information during docking for automated dockings, and the crew can see those cameras while they're doing their manual docking should they need it.
So you'll be hearing a lot about the Vestas over the next 24 hours as Starliner makes its way to the space station. That is a key part of the systems that we'll be checking out along the way and then using for the actual docking.
Yes, and that system is made up of 6 cameras. It's got it's a dual redundant system, so there's 2 copies of each. There's 2 regular spectrum cameras that similar to what the human eye can see. One for a narrow field of view for looking longer distance, one for a wide field of view for shorter distances. There's also an infrared camera that can help Starliner see station while it's in the dark. It also has a laser-based LiDAR rangefinder that can also pick out the structure on station and kind of paint a 3D view of station inside of the flight computer. So that gets tied in with the rest of the data to help Starliner know exactly where it is relative to station.
So
Starliner's finishing up its third of 3 navigation calibration maneuvers. The next things coming up are enabling some of the
good rad flow. I'm not sure if they made a notice, but there was a few warnings pop up. Those were associated with the radiators coming online. We're still watching it, but good rad flow. No action.
Yep, good rad flow. We did see him in no action. We figured that. Thanks.
And those radiators, that was one of the items I was going to say is coming up soon. Starliner turns on the radiator system based on what the current temperature is, based a little bit on solar activity and the heating it got during ascent. So now that system's on, cooling Starliner, we are looking towards getting Starliner pointed in the direction for the next upcoming burn, which is the NC burn, or the phasing burn, where that C means catch-up. During that phasing maneuver, Starliner is going to stay in a slightly elliptical orbit, but at a lower altitude than station. And it's going to use that time to catch up with station, and then we'll later move up to station's altitude for final rendezvous and docking.
View you're seeing here is of the flight control team in Mission Control Houston. In the center of the view there is Mike Lammers, the lead flight director for this mission. Next to him, Rick Hempfling, and on his other side, Joshua Kutrick, the day's Capcom that you've been hearing talk with the crew. You saw Lammers there pointing around the room as he was going through a go, no-go call for moving into orbit ops, the next mode that Starliner will be working in, having finished its ascent and its orbital insertion burn.
Starliner, you have good cooling and your go for orbit ops.
Outstanding. Good cooling, go for orbit ops. And with that, we have another message we'd like you to relay.
Everyone is listening. Go ahead.
Yeah, if y'all could call Kennedy Space Center crew quarters and strongly request that they release Joe Acaba and James Branson from quarantine. I'm sure they would appreciate it.
I'm going to give him a call. I'm not sure Joe's going to want to leave, but we'll pass it along.
You may be right. He said a lot of free bacon.
Sounds good.
You heard there that go for orbit ops that was communicated up to the crew that we were talking about just a moment ago. And also, of course, Butch Wilmore calling down that the chief astronaut, Joe Acaba, can be released from quarantine. Butch and Suni went into quarantine April 22nd, so they had a bit of a longer than expected quarantine as they waited for today's launch, but they are safely in space. So now that those who have been in close contact with them and needed to preserve their own quarantine to make sure that no germs were sent up to the International Space Station can also end their quarantine.
And Houston, are you ready for PCS activation?
We're ready. Here go for PCS activation.
Here we go.
For those just joining us, or for those who've been watching since launch, Starliner is doing the last bit of coast before it gets to the NC burn, or the phasing burn. We've got about a little over 9 minutes till we get to that burn. In the meantime, Starliner is currently in the process of turning back on its OMAC engines, or its orbital maneuvering and control jets. Those are the larger thrusters that will push Starliner for large burns, large trajectory changes on orbit.
And Houston, the hatch locking device is installed.
We copy, hatch locking device installed, thanks.
And Starliner is finishing its pointing maneuver to get into the NC thrust line orientation. That is getting Starliner pointed in the correct orientation to perform the NC burn.
Step 9, com check, air to ground.
Step 9, com check. Houston has you loud and clear.
I read you the same. We're set up via the table.
Roger. Starliner, good config for the NC burn.
Good config for NC. Houston Starliner, com check on the handheld mic.
Houston has you loud and clear, handheld mic.
Give me another 5 count there, Houston.
This is Houston 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we have you loud and clear, handheld.
Yeah, we're just checking the volume on the speaker. Thanks.
Copy.
And you just heard some back and forth there between Mission Control and Butch Wilmore. The crew switched off of using their headsets. That way they don't have to stay wired into the console the whole time and wear those headsets. They've switched over to the speaker and handheld mic inside Starliner for any communication they need to do down to the ground. We're now coming up on about 3 minutes till the NC phasing burn. We're coming up on 2 minutes till Starliner's NC burn. Starliner is currently pointed forwards in the direction that it's traveling. It's going to fire its thrusters, increasing the altitude of the other side of its orbit. Right now, Starliner did its orbital insertion burn to raise its altitude. Now it needs to raise the other side of its elliptical orbit. We're expecting that NC burn to be about 25 seconds long. And 30 seconds till the expected NC burn. And NC burn is starting for good OMAC burn. Engine burns.
Good NC burn.
Good NC.
Affirm. You're on your way to tail sun, step 12.
We see it.
And that call up from Capcom Joshua Kutrick to the crew. And Butch responding, he sees the same data. Starliner had a successful NC burn. Starliner's orbit is now a slightly elliptical orbit, varying between 324.7 kilometers and 323.6 kilometers. In the meantime, while Starliner waits for its next burn, coming up, the NHPC-1 burn, which is 20 hours and 42 minutes away. Starliner is moving itself into a tail-to-sun mode, so it's going to point its solar rays back at the sun and just use it to kind of top up the batteries while Starliner continues its phasing catch-up maneuver with ISS. With this first section of downtime that the crew's going to have, they're going to be using this time to get out of their suits. Should take a few minutes per crew member, but in the meantime, Starliner is also starting to open up its NDS NASA docking system entry cover. That should stay open for a majority of the flight. That way Starliner will be ready for docking. and flight control is here in Houston. Noting they see the entry cover open. We're getting that telemetry data and showing it on our virtual external display of Starliner.
Starliner, your entry cover is open and complete. You also have a good ADF cal, and we're with you moving over to rendezvous monitor.
Yep, just about to do that ourselves. Here we go. Rendezvous monitor.
And crew acknowledging. They also see NDS cover open. Also noted getting called up is good ADS cal for attitude determination.
People and aiding them in the evacuation before proceeding to the second floor and evacuate.
The welcome team. Supervisors from across the county.
Thank you for coming.
Governor, how are you?
Good to see you again.
Councilman Wilmore, nice seeing you.
Hi.
Yeah.
You know, the council for 14 years. You know that. Oh, yeah. We always talk about the supervisors. You know?
Yeah.
Can't panic over crooked. Nice to see you.
I'm Walter Smith. Chuck Butch.
Sarah Lynn.
To the back row.
The guys that really make it happen.
The guys that make it work.
These are some of our oyster farmers back there. We'll stay. Get some again. So, I didn't want to run off to Albany without unloading this enormous-sized check. But we are so proud to be able to support what you're doing here. This is such a critical part of our identity. And for us to be able to support aquaculture, just bring new life into what your facility here, and to help all the neighboring communities and help our local businesses, and just to keep the industry thriving. I just wanted to stop by and say, this is so important, but thank you for these investments yourself. I know you're also supporting this, and the federal government supporting it, but I wanted to do my part as well as on behalf of the state of New York and all of us. We really believe in this area, and we're so grateful for all of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Town board members that have joined me today and supervisors that buy seed from us, who are always looking for more. This investment in what we're doing here is going to enable us to not just in Suffolk County, but Nassau County too, Town of Hempstead, Town of Oyster Bay, buy seed from our hatchery here, and this is going to enable us to be able to expand and go along with your, wish and your commitment to our environment. It really has helped us. So we want to thank you. This is not the first time the governor is here in our town, and I know she's coming back again soon. And we really, really appreciate your commitment to what we're doing here in the town. And we have a little memento for you. It's not $10 million worth, but there are some oysters in here.
Oh, are there?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, thank you. And I also want to thank, I think just about all of you for supporting our co-housing community.
Yes, yes.
This is really important, just to show, we're not going to tell you where to do things, just do things. We want to be supportive and help you with the resources you need, the different programs, the downtown revitalization, and smarts. We have so many projects, and if we could just continue the partnership, and we started last year on this important issue of getting more housing, because so many people want to live here. This is precious, quality of life we have out here. If we don't build the housing, we're not going to be able to keep our kids here. So that's why I'm so committed to this as well, and I know you are as well. So I wanted to at least mention that before I head out, because it's important.
Yes. Well, let me just say that the governor was here about 2 months ago when we talked about housing, visiting the absolute textbook example of transit development in downtown Bayshore, and the commitment on the part of the supervisors, for Shake Over Chairs, our Supervisors Association, all the supervisors that are here today. We are committed, and the fact that the governor was a town official, she gets it. She knows that we know what we're doing as long as we have the right partner, and we certainly have it in Governor Hochul. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And here you go. When you get a chance to be casual. Okay.
Someday that'll happen.
Yes, I don't know when. Maybe around midnight.
Let's get to the end of this session,
Yes.
and I look forward to coming back. Actually, we're planning to be out here in the next couple of weeks. So thank you.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you for all the work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Governor Holker, what do you want to say to Long Islanders about the congestion pricing?
PAO, or Public Affairs Office Mustang event. This is the first opportunity for the crew to provide remarks on the mission thus far and their flight into orbit. Following this, the CFT crew will also conduct some far-field piloting checkouts and provide feedback to the teams on the ground on those checkouts. We will discuss these piloting checkouts a bit more here shortly as we approach them. Following this, the crew will complete data collection on VESTA, or the Vision-Based Electro-Optical Sensor Tracking Assembly. This is essentially a vision-based system which helps with tracking and docking, of course, for Starliner. The crew will also complete other tasks and checkouts, do a little cleanup, all before completing a medical conference and getting some rest. So as you can see, quite a busy few hours ahead for the crew. Because this is a test flight, there are multiple checkouts and tests that occur as part of the eventual certification process of Starliner. And coming up here in just a few minutes at 11:30 a.m. Central Time, we will have the opportunity to hear from managers at both NASA and Boeing and United Launch Alliance about today's successful launch of Butch and Suni. You can tune in and listen into that news conference on the NASA TV channel or the nasa.gov website. We will be splitting our channels, so we'll have a media-only loop that will be provided as audio-only coverage. We are continuing to cover every step of the way along this mission until we do dock, but we will be splitting those channels out in order to broadcast the post-launch news conference. And if you are just joining us, we now are over an hour and a half into today's flight of the first crewed flight of the Boeing Starliner spacecraft.
Starliner, Houston, Air to Ground 1, Vesta Sensor Orientation Command sent.
The crew regarding the Vesta, or the Vision-Based Electro-Optical Sensor Tracking Assembly. This is that vision-based system, really important for docking and tracking of Starliner. Later today, there will be an entire checkout and data collection of the Vesta system, and we'll be sure to cover it live every step of the way.
Starliner Houston, when able. Not urgent, just a couple things.
here momentarily, where leaders from NASA, Boeing, and ULA will have the opportunity to discuss today's flight of Butch and Suni. There's a successful liftoff occurring at 9:52 a.m. Central Time this morning. And those leaders will also answer questions from the media during that news conference. You can join and watch along on that post-launch news conference if you would like on nasa.gov or NASA Plus.
Starliner, no action on cabin fan DP. It's a deucer, and we're working on clearing the message for you. Starliner, we just want to make sure we have you after going back to 280 grounds and lower LDR. So do you hear this? Houston on 1. Starliner, this is Houston on Air to Ground 1 in the blind, and we think that our audio is getting on board and that you hear this, but we have not heard from you. So if you're here in Houston, feel free to just deflect the RHC, deflection on the RHC. We'll see that if you're hearing us. And we saw that, Houston. We saw the RHC, so stand by. We're still not hearing you on the loops, but we did see your action.
And the teams here in
Starliner, Houston, one thing we're hearing here is to check the handheld mic connector, make sure it's fully plugged in still and hasn't dislodged. And Starliner, one more reminder, just things we can think of here is check that your chip is installed. You'll need that plugged in to use the handheld mic.
And you are hearing...
Houston, we've cycled all the buttons. Chippa is installed. How do you read air to ground 1?
Starliner, we have you loud and clear now, air to ground 1.
Okay, great. Fantastic. We are with you in rendezvous monitor.
Okay, copy. Just getting caught up. Vector sensor orientation command. And then I have one action for you for the humidity system if you're ready.
We are ready.
All right, we saw your activation. We would like to cover the desiccant under seat 1. And so whenever it's convenient, we want you to go to the provisions bag on the cargo adapter, get the desiccant cover out, and you can use that to cover the desiccant under seat number 1. I'll copy.
Okay, Sonny will grab that and we'll cover the desiccant under seat 1.
Good words.
And I don't know if you heard our question earlier, but the male piddle packs, the urine packages, we cannot find those. We found the clips, but no pack.
Okay, we did not hear that question, but we'll take it and get right back to you with an answer.
And one more time, the location of that desiccant cover, Houston.
Yeah, it's in a cargo adapter on seat 5 cargo adapter. And the bag we think is going to be labeled vehicle provisions. It's the bag on the seat 5 cargo adapter.
Okay, seat 5 cargo adapter, vehicle provisions, copy.
And you did hear some calls from here on the ground up to the crew of Starliner. Mainly you heard the voice of NASA astronaut Butch Wilmore, who is the commander of Starliner, stepping through some procedures to ensure that communication was routed properly. All of that seems to be resolved at this point, and working through some cargo operations and stowage.
I put the cover on underneath seat 1. For underneath seat 5, do you need something done there as well?
Copy on Starliner. I think you're good, but I'll check. Starliner, the NDS SCS checkout's complete and nominal.
Outstanding. Thanks.
And Starliner, per the timeline, if you're good with it, we are going to power on Mustang. Power on and Mustang.
That sounds good.
Power on and Mustang.
That sounds good.
Capcom calling up to the crew. They're going to power on the Mustang system. A reminder that Mustang system is the series of cameras and microphones that are throughout Starliner's cockpit. In this case, they're going to record a message to send down to Earth later. A few remarks on the mission so far, what Butch and Suni are thinking. But they should be simultaneously downcasting that over the air to ground loop, and so we should be able to pick it up here on the live feed.